Okay, so there's this really funny post that's been going around. I think it's been going on for about a day or two now, probably. It's a post from the gaming section of 4chan, I believe. I'm not really too familiar with it. It's forward slash V forward slash. I saw it on Twitter the other day, and I saw some people being really mad about it because it's basically making fun of modern Doom, which apparently you're not allowed to do on the internet. And I said my piece on it, and I went a little bit into it on stream, but I'm gonna make a little dedicated rant about it because it really has to be said, and I even said a little piece on the community post as well. This is what happens when people cannot accept gaming opinions to the point that people are legit having spurging attacks over a fucking video game. I get that people kind of tend to do that whole thing of a game gets instantly praised on release and then a little while later people start shitting on it for no reason. But the difference is that even those who have legit criticisms, they just get lumped into the haters, and thus their opinions are completely invalidated unless you're kissing the game's ass, which is not healthy for any game, even games that you might enjoy on a casual or competitive level. That's just not healthy, okay? And you're probably thinking, oh, why are you going on about this? You have no room to talk. You're just hating on it because it's the cool and hip thing to hate on a game like this. Which is really absurd because last time I checked, I've played the game when it was new. I didn't like it when I played it for the first time. I bought the DLC, which I hated, even more than the regular game actually. But everyone just called me a mindless hater, and now everyone's squabbling about some bullshit meme that's not even going to be taken seriously after maybe a week at best. People have found ways to basically make these games immune to criticism, and now that someone's actually gone and struck the hornet's nest, it is now in a predicament of where have we gone wrong as people who just can't even appropriately share an opinion about a game. And yes, I'm going with appropriately because you have people who literally have gone on rants about the Marauder and Mayo basically becoming famous for white knighting, ironically enough. Seriously, ironically enough. The Marauder and his questionable design. Though I will at least admit, as of this recording, he hasn't really made too many awful videos besides this one. And probably this one, though. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that the thumbnail in question and video title is really not that pleasing. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But this shit with people being annoyed at this is really funny. Because for every person like Connor Shaw who have made fair criticisms of the game compared to Young Defiant, who is still a troll, by the way, and I don't know if he's even around or people take him serious or whatever. But this just goes to show that anyone who disses modern Doom in any capacity is seen as the next Young Defiant, and that's where I get really mad at this. Even though I do find this opinion correct, though it's kind of a joking manner, because honestly, Modern Doom isn't really anything special, except for the fact that it can sell as a single-player campaign, whereas a lot of games these days focus literally on the multiplayer. I'm not going to really get into that because that's not the point. But even one of my regulars that has been on and off of my streams, they know that I don't care for Doom Eternal. And I know that they're into it, which is fine. If you can accept that, you're cool in my book. If you're not, you're not cool. And you need to seek help. Not everyone's going to like what you like, but you shouldn't spurge out over such bullshit, okay? It's going to get to the point where people are going to start doing this with Elden Ring, or hell, even Armored Core 6. You know, the game that people have said that is the weakest From Software title since fucking Dark Souls 2. Maybe there was one other Armored Core game, and that one was a complete piece of shit. I'll give From props for actually making a different game that isn't Dark Souls, but to call that game the weakest game since Dark Souls 2 is kind of disingenuous. But I will digress. From Software actually did something right for once, so I'll give them credit. Doesn't change the fact that people are basically make it that Armored Core 6 is going to be the next Dark Souls, but, you know, people are pretty funny in that community. There's this whole PlayStation thing that Jim Ryan has said. I think he's some position from PlayStation, whatever. I really don't know. There's a reason why I don't really like The Last of Us, and that is mainly because despite the game's stellar narrative, which is just basically a more fascinating version of The Walking Dead, the gameplay is complete booty cheeks. Seriously. It's an even more boring version of Gears of War, and even though I find Gears of War boring as hell, at least Gears of War actually has gameplay in it. But we're going to talk about Gears later, okay? I got something real good cooked up about that shit, and I gotta stop saying that shit. People are actually pissed off that PlayStation is basically going to be moving towards story-driven narrative third-person games when... What was the game that came out 10 years ago that everyone sucked the dick of? Because people who worked under the umbrella of Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter and even that one really weird 3D fighting game I can't think of right now has actually made a game that people have actually taken so seriously that it is under the same guise of you're not allowed to criticize it and fuck you if you do, which is really absurd. It's really freaking sad that when a game like Spider-Man was PS4 exclusive, that lost to God of War, even though God of War is much more slower paced than everything else, when even Spider-Man at least lets you enjoy the gameplay and actually has a decent narrative that isn't just walk down hallway the same 5 zillion times, and even the in-between bits of going around to the next location, you're just going around swinging the webs in New York City. Because isn't that what people want to do with Spider-Man? And even the Miles Morales game? I'm not going to be pissed off that the game is on PC, because honestly, it is kind of absurd that the Spider-Man game was PS4 exclusive. But it's not the first ever game to be an exclusive, okay? Nobody cared that Batman was only on NES, and that Batman Returns was a Super Nintendo exclusive. You know, the one that played like a beat-em-up game, but was a one-player game because Batman don't need another Robin up in his bitch. Exclusives have always been a thing, ever since gaming pretty much started with Pong, and it's not even just a gaming thing either. Like, look at all the various shows that are only on one specific streaming service, or look at all the products you can buy at the store, you know. Nobody's pissed off that you can't buy a bowl and basket product outside of ShopRite. It's really frigging stupid. Exclusives are always going to be a thing, and while people are being really weird about Spider-Man porting the PC, there was no way to know firsthand that shit was going to be ported outside of Sony platforms, since Sony has usually been pretty restrictive about their IPs going multi-platform. And even the few IPs that actually have gone multi-platform, whether it be Twisted Metal or even Metal Gear Solid, it's kind of absurd that it took that long for Sony to actually start catching up with the times. Maybe in the next 1,000 years, Nintendo will finally start catching up, but we're not going to count on that because, you know, Nintendo always makes the best games, and Smash Bros. Is a celebration of video games. But, oops, it's only on a Nintendo, Jimmy boy. Get you a Switch. Not to mention that even with the way gaming is now, people just probably watch long plays or their favorite live streamers play the game. I only hope that the new Spider-Man game is actually going to be decent. Insomniac is pretty much the last decent legacy developers from Sony's side. And even Rift Apart was fucking terrible. Like, seriously. It had a really shitty multiverse complex story. The gameplay was basically Doom Eternal, but in third person. The exploration wasn't even that fun. The jokes are fucking terrible, and even has legend voice actor who played Invader Zim and Billy from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy sounding insufferable and punchable in the fucking face because he happens to voice the most unlikable character in Ratchet & Clank history. Even Ratchet & Clank fans have agreed that Zircon is the most unfunniest character ever, and yet they got all-time great legend who voiced Invader Zim voicing a really unlikable character. But I'll digress on that. And even something like God of War coming out on PC, great, I guess, because people can at least play the game on PC if they have the specs to play it, but it doesn't change the fact that the game is a piece of shit. I cannot stand that fucking game. It is insanely boring. And I've beaten it too, so I don't want to hear shit that I'm just dick riding, or that I didn't play the game, so I can't shit talk it, Elden Ring fanboys. I mentioned that Gears of War is a game that I find insufferably boring as fuck. A lot of games these days, whether it be third person or first person or even 2D or 3D, any game with regenerating health, and especially playing the harder difficulty, you kind of have to play it like a cover shooter if you want to stand a chance, because what are medkits, right? While I do like the idea of Gears of War and the lantern that comes with it, that's pretty much the only thing that gives me any excitement, and that one multiplayer map with that really scary swarm of gears, I think. The metal gears are turning. Gears of War, besides the one-on-one competitive aspect and the elimination style team mode, is really boring. In Gears of War, at least with the original game, because that's the one that everyone dick ride alongside Halo 3 to a point. And funny enough, even Halo 3 is just guilty of this. And this should not be a hot take, but games that only let you play 1/3 of the game unless you have a friend or two is really bad design. And Gears of War pretty much fits that bill. Gears of War having what? A campaign that's really annoying because you have to constantly revive your buddy, but if you go down once, you're fucked. And if your buddy dies, it's also instant game over, unless you revive them in time. You have a multiplayer mode that you can't even play with bots, which has been plaguing a lot of games, even great games like Towerfall. And even other games in the Halo series is basically this. But the lack of bots, even Gears of War Remastered, is just asinine. And the only game that lets you actually do it legit, without this gimmicky bullshit that makes Gears of War at least unique, is the most black sheep game in the series, Gears of War Judgment, which never got a PC port, by the way. Amazing. And neither did the other Gears games. Amazing. And I'm not counting that one. Screw off. But let me get back to Gears 6, actually, because that was kind of an insane rambling rant. What was the game that essentially took the Souls formula and went open world, and people sucked the game's dick so fast and furious, and no, I did not misspeak, that this is the only game that people can think of, a game that reinvented the open world genre, and screw any other game that has gone open world, right? Games like Halo Infinite, pfft, that was a piece of shit. Games like Metal Gear Solid 5, pfft, that was a piece of shit. Personally for me, but I don't know about other people. I personally don't even like the fucking game. Let's see, what other games have gone open world? Oh, what about that Narc reboot? Pfft, what a piece of shit. It should just say a linear arcade game, dude. What about Batman Arkham City? Oh wait, people actually like that game. Oh wait, what about games like Arkham Knight? Oh, fuck the Batmobile, but oh shit, Mary Jane and Spider-Man? What a great gameplay mechanic. Not gonna get into that discourse. Even seeing the bits of Elden Ring gameplay, it's just basically the Souls formula, but letting you jump, going on horseback riding, having more focus on magic, and whatever else type of gameplay that From Software wants the COD kids, as people on Twitter call it these days, to dick ride the game and think it's hot shit, but fuck any other game that goes open world, okay? I am so sick of this argument too. Like, people who judge open world games right off the get-go is like people who judge anime fighting games because it's not westernized Street Fighter. Even though Street Fighter is made by a Japanese company, you fucking xenophobic bastards. But people are so quick to judge a game by whether it be open world or a game that has anime aesthetics, Code Vein got so much shit for being anime Dark Souls, and yet Lies of P is getting a lot of praise, at least by people actually play the game, compared to those who just look at, oh, this should have been Bloodborne 2. It's fucking stupid. It is really stupid how people are basically going on about that game and thinking that it's a decent game to play, but they didn't want to give Code Vein a chance because, oh my god, it's anime Dark Souls. When my rant about Western Berserk has basically stand tall and true, that people will literally judge a game by aesthetics and whether a game is open world or not. If you're the type of person who thinks that Elden Ring is the greatest form of open world gameplay, you have no room to talk if you think that Gear 6 is ruining the Gears of War formula. It just goes to show how fucking biased people are, and it really makes me sick that this is the type of people who are correct, but people like me who try to actually have reasoning are shunned in together by the likes of Young Defiant. I am so sick of this mentality. People have the gall to shit on Gear 6, another game going open world, but think that Elden Ring is the most perfect and innovative game out there. That shit is so fanboy mentality that it's funny that people think they have the right of reasoning, when I at least have valid reasons, and even if they may not be things you agree with, are completely valid going by what you people expect others to criticize the game correctly. But fuck you if you don't play Elden Ring because of past experiences, right? What a fucking society we live in. Now, if you excuse me, I got better things to do. Which is literally anything else besides ranting my ass off for half an hour.